Imagine having a huge body of land that you passed down through generation after generation, and it never got touched until this moment right here. Well, that's the story that occurred or is occurring now with Blaine and Diane Smith, as you can see in this picture right here. This is a black couple right here out of Georgia who have acres of land. I want to say around 600 acres, and that is a lot of land. Like, really put that into perspective and understand that they're working with a lot. But they ran into a dilemma, and I think them and some other people did as well, but they're really pushing this couple out there, where they are fighting this judge, and I'm going to talk about the judge in a little bit, who was ruling to have their land taken away so they can build a railroad through there. So basically they would take all the land that they have and put a railroad system right through there. That sounds a lot like what our people were going through back in the day when they started building those freeways over and through our black towns. And that's how many of those black towns ended up getting destroyed. And that's another reason why many of them did get destroyed. So as you can see, nothing really has changed even from back then. But I'm gonna go ahead and read this article from blacknews.com. It was posted on February 14, 2025. Blaine and Diane Smith, a Black American couple from Sparta, Georgia, are fighting to stop the Sandersville Railroad Company from taking their family's land for a new rail spur. A judge recently ruled in favor of the company, but the Smiths plan to appeal. The railroad company wants 11 acres of the Smiths family's 600-acre property in Sparta. Blaine's grandfather acquired the land in the 1920s, and it has since been a source of food, education funds, and family memories. The planned 4.5-mile rail line would pass through a historically black neighborhood and disrupt their property's peace. We've had to fight to keep this land. It's always somebody coming and trying to bamboozle you out of it, Blaine told Capital B News. There's people trying to come hunt on it and trespass on it. It's going to be easy for them to do that if we put a railroad through the middle of it. You ask me what things bother me about it? I mean, everything bothers me about it. Sandersville Railroad claims the spur will boost the local trade, reduce truck traffic, and create jobs. Company president Benjamin Tarbutton III acknowledged the family's concerns and said they are open to further discussions. The company has already reached agreements with most of the 18 affected landowners. The Smiths, supported by the Institute for Justice, argued that the rail project does not serve a genuine public purpose. Exactly, it's a self-serving one. It's not. They see what they'll do is they'll say that it's going to do this and it's going to do that, but then once it happens, it goes and turns into something completely different. And it turns into a self-serving project. It doesn't benefit anyone outside of the people themselves that are putting that rail system there, and probably, of course, other constituents that invested in. So the Smiths will not benefit at all from this whatsoever. They'll probably lie and say that they will, but they really won't. Like they said, it would end up disrupting their peace, because trains, they're loud. And imagine having to live outside near one and having one literally run through your property. This says they have 600 acres of land, and they said they want to use 11 acres of it to build that rail system. And the thing is, say that the family, that this couple agreed and said, okay, fine, whatever. They get 11 acres today, then they'll be wanting more acres tomorrow. Then the day after that, then the day after that. You give them an inch, they'll take a whole damn mile. Or in this case, you give them a few inches and you give them damn near all your land. They worry about potential property damage, noise, and trespassing. It's something that they've been dealing with, especially the trespassing, already before a train system was even brought up. The family remains determined to fight the ruling and protect their heritage. We're going to fight till we can't fight anymore, Diane said. I don't want to leave any stone unturned. My grandmother used to say no stone unturned, so you keep unturning and unturning. The case now heads to the Georgia Supreme Court as the family continues their legal battle. So that's the initial article right there. But as I was continuing to research, it looks like they've already come to a decision, which brings me to here. Now, I got this screenshot off of MSN, and it said it was posted 3 days ago. Now it's the 18th, so that was the 15th. And the article I read from, the Black News one that I just read from, was the 14th. So this is the next day. So it sounds to me like they already had a decision already locked in. And it says Sandersville Railroad wins eminent domain ruling. A Fulton County Superior Court judge has upheld a ruling by the Georgia Public Service Commission, or the PSC, granting Sandersville Railroad Company the right to take land from several property owners, including the Smiths, for a planned rail spur. However, Judge Craig Schwall also issued a partial stay preventing the company from invoking the power of eminent domain to start the project, pending an expected appeal of this week's ruling to the Georgia Supreme Court. So now we know who the judge is. His name is Craig Schwall. The case began in March 2023 when Sandersville moved to condemn and take land owned by Don and Sally Garrett, which has been in Don Garrett's family for generations. So now this is a different couple right here that they're talking about. So as you can see, they have the same story as the Smiths do. This is 2 months later. The Garretts, Blaine and Diane Smith, who we just talked about, and Marvin and Pat Smith, not related, teamed up to challenge the condemnation. In July 2023, more property owners joined the suit. The PSC sided with the company because of why wouldn't they? Because they feel that's more money. Voted unanimously last September that the company's plan for the 4.5-mile Hanson Spur connecting raw material producers to CSX rail line constitute a legitimate public use under the state's eminent domain laws. A private railroad's desire to build a speculative new line entirely for the benefit of a handful of private companies is not a public use under the U.S. and Georgia constitutions and Georgia's eminent domain laws, said Bill Moore, senior attorney with the Institute for Justice, which represents the property owners. We look forward to the Georgia Supreme Court review, and we are thankful our clients will not have to deal with Sandersville building tracks on our client's property until the higher court weighs in. The company issued a statement praising Schwall's ruling and defending the project. The Hanson Spur is a critical infrastructure project that will open new channels of trade for local businesses, reduce truck traffic, and serve the public with minimal impacts on our neighbors, the company wrote. Sandersville Rail Company asserted that the Hanson Spur is expected to generate more than $1.5 million in annual economic benefits for Hancock County in the city of Sparta. And there it is right there. That is where they are laying it on thick. It's saying that it's going to bring in all this money annually. They basically is saying to the property owners who have all this land, is like, yes, you have all this land, but we know we can have better use for it, because really, what are you bringing in? They feel like, in my opinion, from my vantage point, they feel like, what does you owning this land, how is that contributing to the overall economy? They're basically saying it would be better off as a rail line, or a rail spur as they call it, than it is you just having property here. Even if you've had this property in your home, in your life for generations. They said for the Smith family, they said for 100+ years. And they said they've been dealing with this for a long time, when people kept trespassing on their land. And I find that's a common thing I hear about when it comes to black landowners, especially when they own big bodies of land like that. You have a lot of the usual suspects come on their property, just walking on there like they own the place. I remember when I did a video, or maybe it was a lie, but it was probably a video maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, where this black woman was dealing with that from this PC man trying to come onto her property and be destructive with it. But she called him, and well, let's just say it didn't end well for that guy. But I find this to happen more commonly than not, especially when it comes to black landowners. And you see what happens when black people own the land. They work the land, they keep the land, pass it down to generations, and then you have this stuff coming in, and it's like whenever they try to have a say on it, it's like they are silenced. Like they don't care at all whatsoever. As long whatever they see something that is directly there for them, and like greedy little vultures, they come in and just start picking away at it. And like I said, let's hypothetically say the Smith family and these other families were to quote unquote play ball. They get 11 acres of land with this train line or this rail spur right now, and then before you know it, they'll be trying to collect even more. Remember, the Smith family has 600 acres of land that's in their family, and they want 11 acres of it. And like I said, 11 today, who knows how much more tomorrow? Because once you start chipping away at some of them, then they'll come around and they'll be wanting more later on down the line. It never stops. It's like an endless cycle. So I'm glad that the family is standing strong behind this. If there is an update to be had when it comes to the story, I'll make sure to add it in this part of the video before I get ready to upload it, so y'all can see if the story for yourself. If not, and that this is the only thing that comes from it, then I hope that the families fight tooth and nail to get this thing settled.